Hi, this is highwithoutcoke. In this video, I'm going to show you my first build in Curse of the All-Flame that I've been playing for the past few weeks. As we all know, this league is supposed to be a self-cast league, so I thought, yeah, with all the nerfs to totems and mines, maybe it's time to finally play a trap build. Really, I'm not a fan of self-cast builds. At the same time, I'm not familiar with trap builds either. This build was kinda experimental when I started it, which is why I didn't post any league starter video because I didn't want it to be bait. I decided on this build at the very last minute, so the POB wasn't polished, and most importantly, I had no idea whether it was going to be good or not. I mean, when I tested it in standard, it didn't reach my standard. I don't always make tanky builds, but the build felt very squishy, even for my standard. However, I decided to go on with it and adjust it along the way. So here it is, my first ever melee trapper. The problem with trap is that the damage is delayed, and it's worse than mine and totem. You see a monster, you throw a trap, you must wait for the trap to be triggered, then only the trap deals damage and kills the monster. My builds have detonate mines jammed to instantly detonate the mines and kill the monsters, but trap needs an extra step. If I'm squishy, I'm dead before I can do any damage. So I invested quite a lot in defense when making this build, and the result is a tanky melee trapper which can do most content in the game. This build is actually better for maps with small area or corridors, because the projectiles can return to me faster, thus increasing the clear speed. So far, the farming strategies I've done are Harvest, Breach, All-Flame, Blight, Simulacrum, and some regular bossing. I would say this build is best for diving, Harvest, and Simulacrum. Regular bossing is also good, but I haven't touched Uber bosses yet, so I can't say for that. Dune's Breach runs are doable, but don't expect its clear speed to be like Winter Orb or Kinetic Fusillade. It's tanky, but it's not a fast build. This is me running Breach in an 8 mod map with 10k whips. As you can see, I could tank the Marshal, but it took me a while to take him down. Yes, the damage is in top tier, but the good news is, the budget is in top tier as well. The build is around 120 divines if I include the cost of Dying Sun. I didn't use it when recording the video, but I swap around different flasks depending on the maps I run. Most of my Simulacrum runs are deathless. I only die in 2 situations. The first one is if I encounter the charge removal modifier. As you can see, I have 6 power charges and 3 endurance charges, but they're not permanent. So if the monsters remove my charges, I will lose some damage and defense. This means that I'll be killing things slower, so I'm more likely to die. Another situation is rare but not impossible. If the 2 bosses appear together, they attack together, and somehow my 78% block chance managed to fail me twice in a row, yes, I will die. If I only get hit once at a time, and the hit isn't blocked, this will remove half or more than half of my life, but it's still fine, because I can just regen or use a life flask. I made POB for this build with 3 different Ascendancies, Elementalists, Inquisitor, and Saboteur. But in the end, I decided to go with Saboteur. The main reason I chose Saboteur was because of Pyromaniac, which gives me 10% of life regeneration. Inquisitor gives a ton of life regen as well with its Consecrated Ground, but considering how most trap nodes are on the right side of the tree, Saboteur was more ideal as a league starter. However, there's a problem with Saboteur Ascendancy. If you look at the nodes, they are more useful for AoE trap builds. And this is for trigger builds. This is for my builds. So I had to get a Bloodline Ascendancy. I got it myself, but for some people, they may need help from others to get it, which is why I didn't recommend it as a league starter. Warlord Ascendancy is great, because Ash of the Storm allows my hits to ignore enemy monster lightning resistances if all equipped rings are synaptic rings. This is a huge DPS boost On top of this, I can replace lightning penetration support with another DPS support. With Shrapnel Specialist, projectiles have 50% chance to return, so I don't need to use enemies, which is great because I can cut down my budget and I can use 2 Synaptic Rings. Synaptic Rings have good synergy with Lightning Coil. I have kept resistances for elemental and chaos hits, so I invested more into getting high physical max hit. By wearing Lightning Coil, 50% of physical damage from hits is taken as lightning damage. The damage taken is reduced because I have 85% maximum lightning resistance from Synaptic Rings and Jewels. Besides that, I have 3 endurance charges provided by Perfect Warlord, giving me 12% additional physical and elemental damage reduction. I also have Determination Aura and 5 extra physical damage reduction provided by Perfect Guardian Turtle. You can see here I'm using Flesh and Stone, which is the reason why I want to stay as close to enemies as possible. Sand Stance allows me to take 19% less damage if I'm really close, which is huge because this applies to all damage. Doesn't matter if it's physical, elemental, or chaos damage. On top of this, Saboteur has a notable passive skill called Born in the Shadows, which allows me to take 15% reduced damage from blinded enemies. This is quite effective because I'm always close to enemies, so they are blinded, and for the enemies that are further away, they are blinded as well because my projectiles can cover most of the area. Lastly, I'm using a Transfer Attuned Spirit Shield. So whenever I block, I zap the enemies, causing them to deal 6% less damage. Now I'm quite tanky because I have a lot of damage reductions here and there, but it's still not going to be enough if I get hit very often. I'll need some form of damage avoidance. Block is the most reliable way to avoid damage. I have 78% block and spell block. My shield has 45% block chance. As the Mountain Anointment gives me another 12% plus 3% max, so I can get my maximum block chance to 78%. I also have some block chance from the Shield Mastery and Jewels. Replica Reckless Defense is quite good because it gives both attack block and spell block. The downside, it doesn't matter because I'm using Purity of Elements, so I'm immune to all elemental ailments. Reckless Defense works too because I have 100% crit damage reduction. As for spell block, I get it mostly from the passive tree and Tempest Shield. Now I can block most of the coming hits, and even if I get hit, most of the time it's not going to one-shot me. However, I'll still need to recover my life quickly to prepare for the next hit. So one thing I did was I got life recovery on block on my shield. It's 3%. I will probably divine it, but this is good for all the small hits. It's like 120 life every time I block. And then Pyromaniac gives me around 400 life regen. Vitality from Perfect Warlord helps a bit, probably like 50 life regen. If I pop Bottle Faith, the Consecrated Ground will give me around 200 life regen. All these are only good for small hits. If I get a big hit that instantly removes like half of my life or more than that, I'll still need to use a life flask. This is the wand I'm using. Anything that gives more levels is good. Crit multiply is good, and you want your spell damage to be as high as possible. Then you want to have an open suffix to craft trap throwing speed. You don't want cast speed on your wand because it will prevent you from crafting this modifier. I tried using a wand with 40% increased projectile speed, but I didn't notice a significant increase in clear speed or anything, so it's not that good. Transfer Attuned Spirit Shield is the best base, and you want to look for high life, high block, and life recovery on block. Anything else is bonus. If you want to cap your block chance using tattoos like me, then getting strength on gear is very important. I also have strength on my amulet and ring. Leech Circlet is the best base for helmet slot. This is because it is the single gear item that can provide the most energy shield. Also, most rare gear pieces are energy shield bases because I'm using Eldritch Battery to spend energy shield for skill cost. As you can see, I'm using 3 Spectres, Perfect Warlord, Perfect Guardian Turtle, and Perfect Spirit of Fortune. They're not cheap, but they provide a lot of damage and are one of the keys to my tankiness. A level 25 Raid Spectre gem is needed to summon 3 Spectres. So I have a level 21 gem, plus 2 levels from the helmet and another 2 levels from Empower support. If you get plus level 2 spells from, let's say, your wand, you can get your Raid Spectre gem to level 25 even more easily. And so far, all my Spectres are deathless. I fractured and crafted this helmet myself. Once I got the fractured mod, I envy Essence spam until I got the mods I want. This is actually the 3rd helmet I crafted. The other 2 were great, but they were not suitable for this build. But like, if you manage to craft something nice in the process, you can just sell it. Buy another base and continue crafting until you get what you want. I have 50% crit damage reduction from my body armor. Combined with critical mastery and tattoos, I have 100% crit damage reduction. This is especially important if you want to do Simulacrum because crit modifier appears quite often. Relicash Impatience is mandatory for Frenzy Charge generation. Inner Conviction gives 3% more spell damage for every power charge, but it also prevents you from getting Frenzy Charge. It's possible to get stun immunity from Unwavering Stan's Corrupted Implicit, but I personally have not tested it myself, so I don't know whether Unwavering Stance will be good or not. Unwavering Stance prevents you from evading, meaning Blind Mechanic is useless because you would take all hits unless they are blocked. Synaptic Rings can only roll lightning and all elemental resistances, so you have to get fire and cold resistances somewhere else. Arcane's Tools is very good. It offers increased rapturing speed and mana reservation efficiency. It also makes your skitterbots more effective. The Scorching Skitterbot doesn't do anything though. I always have a life flask, a topaz flask, and a quicksilver flask. I have another 4 flasks to swap around depending on the maps I run. Dying Sun is expensive, but it gives 2 additional projectiles, which is a huge DPS boost. I normally use it for bossing. Bottle Fade can be used for anything. As for the triple alley flask, I use 3 of them if the map mods are extremely difficult. You will need a Militant Fade Timeless Jewel, but it doesn't have to be exactly the same as mine. You will need High Templar Dominus so that it gives you Inner Conviction. Elemental Damage and Non-Kiss Aura are the best mods, but for the number, it can be anything as long as the nodes allocated here are not modified. For example, if someone sells one with the number 1000, you can just change it and see the effects in POE. I have 2 large cluster jewels with Prismatic Heart and Thunderstruck. I think these are the best passive skills. And then I have a small cluster jewel to fit in all my auras. And then that's it. This is how I built my first lightning trap of sparking character. My next build is probably a luminary before it gets nerfed, or maybe trying out crab totem, because it seems like it would be interesting to play a totem build with its stuff, but we'll see. Until then, stay sane.